On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to examine this battle between QAnon and Alex Jones that's been ongoing for quite some time. Now, we're going to take a look at both sides of the issue and we're going to see what each one has said about the other and what you need to know about it. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to Just Informed Talk. I always start by saying thank you to all my subscribers. If you guys haven't hit that button, please come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell notifications to be notified when these videos get posted. So just like the thumbnail says, we're going to be examining this, basically what's been going on between QAnon and Alex Jones. Now, before you guys jump down to the comments, because most people, or a lot of people, I'm going to mark my words on this, are not even going to watch this video. They're going to scroll straight down to the comments and tell me either A, that I'm a shill or something for calling out Alex Jones and that I'm completely wrong, or B, that Alex Jones is this or that, and they're not going to take and QAnon is real or QAnon is fake. It's going to be one of those two things, and they're not going to watch the video. A lot of the people. So when you go down in the comments, just keep that in mind. A lot of those people making the comments have not watched the video. But for those of you who are going to stick around and watch the video, what I'm going to try to do is give you a fair take on both sides. I'm going to give you what Alex Jones says about QAnon. I'm going to give you what QAnon says about Alex Jones. And then I'm going to let you guys decide, because that's what this channel is all about. I don't tell you what to think. I show you the facts and I let you decide for yourself. So with that being said, this is where we left off. We haven't heard from Q for quite some time. I don't know if this is related to the government shutdown or not, but we haven't heard from Q since December 22nd. Q post 2642, and that's where we're basically picking back up. If you guys want to get caught up, I encourage you always to come back here to the landing page, watch these last few videos, make sure you watch them. You'll get all the information you need. There's a lot of great information in there, and I encourage you to go check that out. And if you're scratching your head going, what is QAnon? And you might know what Alex Jones is or who Alex Jones is, but you don't know what QAnon is. I certainly would encourage you to start by watching this video right here on the landing page. It's called What is QAnon and the Great Awakening? It's going to have all that information in it that you guys want to know about, what QAnon is, what the Great Awakening is, how to get involved, and all of that stuff. So with that being said, the first thing we're going to do to kick this video off is we're going to watch this YouTube video. Now, this is a video of Alex Jones from a couple days ago. And I always, I don't watch Alex Jones every day by any means, but I do like to keep a finger on the pulse, so to speak, of what's going on over at InfoWars. And this is something I would like to share with you. It's something I caught the other day, and it's basically Alex Jones giving his explanation of what he sees QAnon as being, and his response kind of to the attacks that he's received from the QAnon community. So let's go ahead and watch this.
These people deserve to be sent to Gitmo. These globalists are traitors, they're enemies. And then the whole Q thing put out a lot of stuff that was accurate at first, then got more and more inaccurate as it got infiltrated and taken over. But Trump is getting ready to declassify documents publicly and through other means, as you're now seeing. And those documents are on Infowars.com, the latest article from Zero Hedge.
I don't know, Alex. I mean, I do research on this military tribunal and the preparation of Gitmo. I heard they sent this huge, massive ship on its way over there. But, at the same time, I'm just kind of I'm wondering, do you really think, this would be something that would happen? I know there's the whole Q thing, and then, but sometimes I just wonder, is this really something that will really happen?
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I appreciate your call. The whole Q thing's not going to happen. Sessions would never be removed. Mad Dog Mattis, Eyebag Mattis would never be removed. He was. Kelly never will be removed. They were globalists. I knew this from the beginning. I was told this, brought in by Stephen Bannon. They were traitors. And they're gone now. And now you're seeing Rand Paul advise the president. You're seeing good things happening. You see the whole media system against him. So if you actually arrested a bunch of globalists, and then the whole idea about Gitmo's coming, they're all about to get arrested, that's meant to keep us in our seats, believing we're winning so they can bring the president down. It's like the Q people showed up at Broward County, where the police stand down, they work for Hillary. Bunch of Democrats. And the vice president gets off the airplane, and the guy's a little Q sticker. And Q runs it and says, look, we're with the vice president. Q. The vice president took the tweet down. Because it's a Democrat deep state globalist operation. That doesn't mean you're bad if you were involved in the Q thing. It tells you what you want to believe. It was the head of Nazi propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, that famously wrote, you don't want propaganda to be too sophisticated. You want it to be super dumbed down and easily believable in what they want to hear. See, that's the opposite of what we do. We put out the real complex stuff that's going on and say, we don't have all the answers, but here's what's going on. What do you think? They go, oh, the whole government's been taken back. Everything's fine. Sessions and Mueller are good people. Everything's going to turn out okay. And by the way, Alex Jones needs to be arrested. Even though InfoWars built the platform with our audience to launch Trump, I saw countless YouTube people go, I used to like Alex, but now I'm with Trump, and Alex needs to go to prison. Trump says so because 4chan and 8chan say they are Trump, and they say arrest Alex Jones. It's like that Naked Gun episode 2 or whatever, where the star of the show is like, kill such and such at some famous baseball player. I mean, it's like mind control. It's like, Alex woke me up, but now he must be destroyed. He is the enemy. He is the problem. And it's like, wow, whoa. Like, those people have seen Trump on the air with me. They've seen Trump as advisors on. They've seen us break hundreds of big stories, but it doesn't matter. Because there's like something so sexy about, I got a secret communication from 4chan. Alex Jones is the enemy. And Sessions is going to soon arrest them all. And, well, Sessions stood down in a major...
All right. So there you go. That was Alex Jones's take on QAnon. Now, I have to admit, some of the stuff he says, I just plainly disagree with. And a lot of his characterizations, I think some are spot on, some are not. And I do believe that what Alex is basically saying is he's threatened. And that's why Q is fake, is because they've said that we need to arrest Alex Jones. Well, you know, for me personally, I've never had anything on a personal level against Alex Jones. I've only taken the information that Q has given us, processed it, and thought, okay, well, now I have to look at Alex through a different lens, right? Not to say that he's not doing what he's doing every day. Nobody can discount the amount of work that he's put into his career, but that to me is completely beside the point. What's the real point of all this? Well, I just wanted to show you that to give you an idea of what Alex thinks QAnon is and how he views it. He says it was good until it got co-opted or corrupted or basically taken over. He calls basically President Trump, all of his cabinet members, globalists, the people who we were told to trust. Now, I'm not saying that that's true or false. I'm just saying that that's what he's saying. And when it comes to QAnon, it's interesting to hear somebody give such a stark contrast to what the sentiment of the movement is. I think it's funny to me, and before we get into the evidence that Q's given us about Alex Jones, I just, for me personally, Alex said a few things that kind of resonate. Yes, Alex was one of the first people to wake me up to a lot, but it wasn't just him. It was a lot of other YouTubers, some YouTubers who are going through a lot of hardship today, or don't even exist to some degree. But between him and some others, I was definitely woken up to what was going on. Now, does that mean that I owe him some eternal allegiance? To me, not really. I mean, he's a hardworking person. He's doing his job out there. But at the same time, I just wanted to point out like the incredible divide that's being created between this Alex Jones and his people, followers, and QAnon. And I just don't think there's any reason for it, because I think we all have the same core motivations. You know, we want what's best for the world. We want what's best for the country. We want to stand up against globalism. We want to stand up against pedophilia. We want to stand up against Luciferianism and Satanism. I don't understand why it has to be this way, but maybe it'll make a little more sense when you examine the evidence that Q has presented against Alex Jones. Now, I wouldn't say as much of it is evidence as it is speculation that is meant to make you ask questions. So first, you can go over here and QAnon or QMap.pub has always got these good breakdowns. And here's the breakdown of basically what's going on between Alex Jones and QAnon. Now, one thing that I wanted to touch on that they didn't cover in this video clip was how basically now Alex is saying that Jerome Corsi has turned against Roger Stone and him and has become a traitor somehow. And I'm not sure how that all plays into all this, but we're gonna kind of examine just this right here. So first of all, this kind of sums everything up. It puts all of these Q posts together with stories that have come out, and it kind of shows that there is something going on here. It's Roger Stone, it's Randy Credico apparently, and Jerome Corsi with Jack Posobiec here. But let's look at those specific posts, right? So here's the one from September 5th. Now this one is basically an anon. This was after Jack Posobiec broke the story about microchip or micro whatever, and how he was the real Q, right? And that, you know, he was going to stop the QAnon LARP as it was put by Jack Posobiec in his story. Well, that ended up being completely fake. And this is an anon kind of mocking Jack Posobiec's attempt to shut down Q. And then then Q gives us this incredible post here where it says, ask yourself a simple, logical question. Why are the majority of Q attacks by pro-MAGA supporters coming from Alex Jones, Mossad-backed, and or Alex Jones known associates? Why are we a threat to them? Why not simply publish an original picture plus minus 1, 2, 3 seconds to establish credibility? Why was this done in the past? We knew this type of attack was coming, predictable, fake news, attacks will only intensify Q. So this one is basically just meant to ask, Q is saying directly that Alex Jones is backed by the Mossad. Now, whether that's true or not, speculatively, he's asking a question here. So that's really the question that's being asked. And if you go into the next post that's about Alex Jones, it's this one right here, where an anon actually basically writes this. Anon says, there is a lot more to this than you realize. Think collective attacks versus Q. It says they attack Alex Jones to give him fake credibility amongst POTUS supporting patriots, thus poisoning the water and directing narrative of the opposition through a Mossad-supported asset, aka Alex Jones. All team effort, coordinated collective attacks with pawns and actors serving black hat agenda and attempting to control, divide the patriots. Attack will come from all sides. Now, Q responds to that by saying, control and divide. Think Mueller. Who is testifying before Mueller tomorrow? Forensic data analysis on phones and or computers. This is not about Guccifer 2.0. What happens if Mueller proves Free Speech Systems LLC, aka InfoWars, is linked to a foreign intel agency or other non-domestic entity? How can the left use that information to divide and censor the right? Why are affiliates of InfoWars constantly attacking Q? Who is pulling the strings? And then it says, gives a blank here, and then it has Free Speech Systems. So I'm guessing that this blank was supposed to be meant to be filled in by Mossad or something, an insinuation of a connection to Israeli intelligence. And so this was the other one we got. So those were the two in tandem that when you look at, and you look at the fact that Jerome Corsi was testifying, he's been called in by Mueller, and now they're calling him a traitor. There is more going on beneath the surface than we can see right now. And a lot of the information hasn't become public yet, so it's almost impossible to know what is actually happening. But if you guys look at this all in its totality, you kind of have to ask yourself, what is going on with Alex Jones and QAnon, and why is QAnon calling Alex Jones Israeli intelligence, and why is Alex Jones calling Q, I don't know, a LARP, I guess? I think, what did he say? He said that we're all like Democrat left-wing psyop or something. I think that's what he called us in that video, something to that effect. And it's kind of like, what? Like he talks about they were down in Broward County and they were all Democrats. Well, okay, I don't think Q has ever subscribed to a particular political party. Suffice it to say that we know what's going on in the Democratic Party, but we know we have just as bad stuff going on in the Republican Party, and that, you know, you have to be basically just a logical moderate to understand that why both sides of the coin are equally guilty of these crimes of corruption and malfeasance and all the way up to other worse evils, but allegedly. But this is it, guys. So I just wanted to go over that. I thought it was something that was worth mentioning. And you know, I watch this stuff and I see him saying what he says, and I see what Q said about him. And to me, like I said, I think we're all the people who are caught in this. The worst part is the people who are the fans, people who are fans of Alex, and people who are followers of the Q movement, who have the same core principles, have the same moral compasses, who are fighting for the same truth every day. Yet it's the control and divide aspect that Q points out, is like, why can't we put those differences aside and say, we're following the truth? And then he says things like, you know, it's never going to happen. Gitmo's never going to happen. People are never going to get arrested, all that stuff. And that's yet to be seen. Alex could be right. But then again, Q could be right, and it could be coming and going to happen. So we're going to have to wait and see, because all we'll have to prove or disprove that is time. So with that being said, I just wanted to point that out. Now, another thing that I want to cover before we go, we got a couple other stories here. This one right here, you guys noticed this? First of all, that President Trump was here in this meeting. It was a cabinet meeting. It was talking about border security. It was about an hour and a half. I watched the whole thing. You guys may see a little compilation of this video coming at you guys in the near future, with President Trump basically laying down the facts that we need border security, and that, you know, how we're going to do it, where we're going to get the support from, all of that stuff. So with that being said, as you can see here on the table, what is that? Is that a giant poster that says sanctions are coming, that looks exactly like the tweet that we got from President Trump back on November 2nd of 2018? Oh, why, yes, it is. Except there is a very interesting difference. Okay, what is the difference? Well, if you could barely see it here, the date on this picture is different than the date on this tweet. Huh. Okay, so first of all, sanctions are coming. This was put out November 2nd, 2018. It says November 5th. All right, that's what that is. Now, here's the one on the table in front of President Trump during his cabinet meeting. And this actually has a different date. It says November 4th. So the first thing, obviously, is 4/5, 45, 45th president, President Donald J. Trump. Kind of a wink and a nod like to the QAnon folks out there. Just another message to us saying, you know, trust the plan. Everything's going according to it. That's what the way I read it. But then other people have read it a bunch of different other ways. This was a great graphic that put some other stuff together that I thought was interesting. So you notice here that this graph points out that it was on November 5th, the tweet, that it's November 4th here. And that shows us November 4th, this right here, which you guys should remember quite well, is this. It's these three picture movie posters on a now playing billboard outside of a movie theater. One is saying Guardians of the Pedophiles. Now, these are popular posters that have been mocked up online. They're parody posters. And then here is one that's saying Panic in DC, and the other one saying FISAgate. So this is where, you know, I think it might be pointing us back to. This is all kind of another way of, you know, giving a little wink and a nod to the Q people out there to let them know that everything is still going according to the plan. Now, I just wanted to cover that because I thought that was an important story. And there's one other story I want to talk about pretty quickly here. First of all, if you guys will remember, I put out this video the other day, which actually talked about this hacking collective called the Dark Overlord, which actually alleged that they went and hacked these insurance institutions, companies, and they basically stole a bunch of legal documentation about insurance claims and legal proceedings that went into the final process of wrapping up the 9/11 terrorist attack investigations, which actually led to people getting paid, who got paid, what was claimed, all of that stuff. Apparently they stole this, and it seems that they've made most of it public, but they may be withholding more documentation of what happened. This particular organization was noted in this video as being the Dark Overlord. Here they have a Twitter account somehow. I don't know how this hasn't been taken down. I mean, come on. I'm not saying that I want it to be taken down. I'm just saying that, like, really? Like, okay. So they put all this stuff out on their Twitter over here, and they put out the keys to unlock, just like the WikiLeaks thing. But one theory that came out has to do with this story that came out shortly after the hackers came out and announced they had stolen all these documents. Well, the FBI has been probing this now. And now they've, I guess, opened up an investigation into this hacking collective and what documents they actually stole. Now, somebody pointed out on one of the boards, how clever would this be to have, and I've talked to some sources that I have, some anon sources who are people who I trust and I think know what's going on a lot of the time. And they said, isn't it interesting that this hacking collective stole all this information that presumably doesn't necessarily hurt the United States, but hurts a lot of other people in a lot of other countries who may have been involved. And it's basically made that information public now. And now the FBI is going to go take that, and as a part of their investigation, if the FBI finds this documentation that otherwise would not have been available to them, and then it becomes admissible, especially as the Anon pointed out, as per the United States Code of Military Justice. So if these documents are collected and then analyzed under by the FBI, but then passed on to other intelligence organizations, especially namely military intelligence and the Pentagon, can they take that information and then actually effectively start new investigations based off of what was uncovered? That's what I think, and it's very interesting. So sometimes things may not seem exactly as they appear. It could be very possible that what we've seen has been a very clever way at putting information into the public sphere, because that to me is just the way I look at some of these things sometimes. No coincidences, right? That's one thing Q certainly taught us, and I thought that was something worth mentioning. Now, of course, with that, there's one other story. It's this crazy story of this Rashida Tlaib who goes off on Trump, and literally there's this Twitter video, and you guys can see it right here.
People love you, and you win. And when your son looks at you and says, "Mama, look, you won," bullies don't win. And I said, "Baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there and we're going to impeach the motherfucker."
All right, so I apologize for that cursing, but obviously I had to share this because this is a woman who is in Congress. And, impeach for what? That's my question. I keep going there. It's like, what is your basis? What is the ground? What are the grounds? Are the grounds that you're going to just impeach him because you don't like him, because he says things that you don't like? Is that where our whole entire political system is basically devolved to? Is just, we're going to impeach him because he's a mother blanker. And you're like, okay, well, you're a congresswoman? Like, who is electing these people? But of course, it's out of Minnesota. I think she's a Minnesota congresswoman. So I'm not surprised for 1 second that this is coming out of Minnesota. We all know what kind of craziness is going on in that state. But that being said, let's go ahead and we're going to just leave it there. I had to share that with you guys. I'll leave links to a lot of this stuff down in the comments. I really appreciate you guys hanging out and watching. A few more things before we go. If you guys haven't hit that subscribe button, now's a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications to be notified when these videos get posted. Now, with that being said, another way you can help out the channel is to watch these videos, share them on your social media, and don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insights in the comments, because like I said at the beginning, I know some of you. I know some of you scrolled straight down to the comments before you even watched 1 second of this video and already have told me how wrong I am about Alex Jones, or how wrong I am about Q, or how wrong I am about everything. Okay, that's fine. But if you guys have anything else you want to add, please go down and leave it. And if you guys have, the people who've watched this video all the way through, I'd like to hear your genuine opinions on what you think about all of this. Like I said before, I'm just bringing you the information and letting you decide. I think that's one of the most important things that I can do as a person who brings information. So with that, I want to say thank you. A couple ways you could help out the channel otherwise. I want to bring this story to your attention real quick. And this is a story that just came out on Breitbart, and it talks about the terrifying rise of financial blacklisting. And it talks about people who are being politically discriminated against by these progressives in Silicon Valley, who have decided unilaterally that they can take away your ability to do business, your access to financial credit or financial systems, as far as, processing payments and that kind of stuff. And it even talks about Patreon. And it talks about how ever since, a guy like Carl Benjamin, who's also known as Sargon of Akkad, was kicked off of Patreon, that it's become this kind of crazy. I've been losing, I'm not complaining, but I've lost at least 75 patrons over the last week. And I lose about a few a day at this point. And if you guys, I understand, if you guys can't contribute, I get it. But I actually think it has more to do with an exodus from Patreon. People are quitting Patreon. People are not choosing to come here to support it or boycotting it. And I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of boycotts, okay? At least not until I get kicked off. No, I'm joking. They've said they're going to work on other platforms, but I think it's an issue that we all have to look at and say, look at what's happening in our society. Okay, we're trying to exercise our ability to grow in the free market, and all we get is completely censored, shut down, kicked off. I know that demonetization on my channel is regular. And Patreon is basically how I can support the channel with what little ad revenue I can put together. It takes a lot of hard work to keep that ad revenue coming in. But this to me is really indicative of the entire problem. And it's basically, it's saying that if you guys come and support your personal favorite personality for opinion, that you're not going to be able to have access to them because they're persona non grata according to big tech and the progressive powers that be that make the decisions about who is and who is not worthy of having access to or free access to certain platforms. And Patreon is one of them. And so is YouTube, so is Twitter, so is Facebook, so is GoFundMe, so are all these other places. So I just had to point that out. So if you want to support the channel, long story short, you can come over here to Patreon. I'm still on Patreon, even if unfortunately maybe your favorite person is not still on Patreon. You can still come and support this channel at Patreon, patreon.com. Search Just Informed Talk. Click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation, and I'll leave links in the description for that. And if you're not interested in doing a monthly donation, I have a GoFundMe page. I'll leave a link to this as well, so you can make a one-time donation. But any little bit helps, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. So with all that being said, since I had to get through that, I didn't mention the Twitter page as well. Go check out my Twitter page at Justin_formed over on Twitter. You get all my fun and hilarious tweets, because I'm just a funny guy. No. But you guys can check me out at Just_formed. Just search Just Informed Talk. You'll find my Twitter page and give me a follow. That helps me out big time as well. So I really, really appreciate that. Now, with all of that being said, we're going to take a second to do what I love to do at the end of each one of these videos, which is our segment, God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. For today, we're going to use a piece of scripture out of the book of Daniel. And this talks about basically praising God and being thankful. And without any more real hype, I'm just going to get right into it. This is out of Daniel. It's chapter 2, verses 20 through 23. It says, May the May the name of God be praised forever and ever, for wisdom and power belong to him. He changes the times and seasons. He removes kings and establishes kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals the deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I offer thanks and praise to you, God of my fathers, because you have given me wisdom and power. And those are words you should take out into the world and wear them like armor, the armor of God, to know that God does grant you wisdom, and God does grant you power and strength and courage if you look to him. As long as you're thankful to him, as long as you praise his name, as long as you put him first in your life and recognize that your success is intrinsically connected to your devotion and faith to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, because without him, nothing is possible. So that's where I want to leave it. I want to say thank you, guys. I hope those words help you understand how God's grace is truly greater, and it is there for you. You're only one prayer away from opening up that relationship, and God is waiting for you every second of every day to come back into his warm embrace. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you all for watching this episode of Just Informed Talk. Remember, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is a great time to do it. Come here, click the big red subscribe button. That's going to be it for me. My name is Craig. Godspeed, and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.